Welcome to the Joe Weller podcast. Now, I've decided that every now and then me and you are going to sit down just like this, look each other in the eyes and have a chat about whatever is going on. Ideally, we do it like once a week. We just sit down like this. You can whack this on, do whatever you're doing, and just like, you know, we're sitting down as mates, just having a chat, basically. And we're going to begin off today's episode with talking about breakups, right? Because I'm going through one and it's horrible. Oh shit, actually, should I go there? I don't know, but I'm basically going through a breakup at the moment. It's already happened, and it's mental how it just like weighs very heavy on your mind. It's like no matter how much you do stuff, you just still, it's just there, hanging over you, the feeling, and almost that void that is left from that love that you were experiencing. And even though your mind's like, you know, look at the bigger picture, it's for the best. You need to focus on yourself. Like, you're still human to an extent, and like the emotion is just still there. And like this weekend just gone, I've gone to Oktoberfest, something I've always wanted to do. I've gone to Barcelona to see my friends, and like on paper, it would look like he's smashing life. Look at his Instagram. God, he's having a great time. And I did. I actually had a fantastic time. But it's mental how, like, yeah, you can do all of that, but who's still here, right? That feeling that just sits, and you then get a moment to yourself, or you come back and you're on your own again, and yeah, it just sits with you and makes you, I don't know, you can easily just go sad and just, be thinking about it. You know, when it's ended in a way that isn't necessarily horrible, and where the people, you know, you and the other person are being nasty to each other, or someone's done something wrong, when none of that has happened and there's not actually an obvious reason as to why you should be able to get over this person so quickly, like it can almost be even harder when like you absolutely love and care for that person 100%, and you've still just like your mind, all you want to do is just like have a cuddle with them and just see them. Like, I'd love nothing more than for her to just, you know, to walk through the door and just yeah. But you have no choice. You know deep down what the right thing to do is at the moment, and it's like you kind of just have to remind yourself of that, and it can be very tough. So yeah, let me know your coping mechanisms, guys. Obviously, I don't drink really. I know we'll touch on that in a minute regarding Oktoberfest, because yes, I did have loads of beers and I did get wankered, right? But I don't really have any vices like drinking, drugs, even eating like naughty things, or like any almost like toxic habits. I don't really have any of those. So it's almost like, well, what do I do? And something, I'll be real, that I've noticed that I've done is like almost try and seek other almost like female energy. Like, yeah. And it's mental, because I only really enjoy meaningful connection. I don't just want to use someone for their female energy and then just I don't know, that's it. It's almost like using each other and then going away. Like, the thing that I actually enjoy is that more deeper, like meaningful connection. So, but you can't just get that out of nowhere. That's something that you build with someone. And I'm definitely not in a situation instantly coming out of a breakup to go and entertain another one. Just let me know like how you've navigated breakups before, especially when it's all amicable and you still absolutely like love and care for that person. Would you say it's easier if there is like a reason, like they have done you dirty, as someone that has experienced being like done dirty, lied to, and like cheated on and stuff like that? Like, I'd say that's actually worse. I'd say that is actually worse, because it cuts you, and it really can make you question everything, and completely knocks your confidence, and actually gives you like this paranoia that's awful. So I definitely would prefer it to be amicable like this, where both people still respect each other, but it is mental how there is almost no escape from that pain, because like as in when you are taken away from each other, because I suppose chemically in your mind there are hormones that bind you together, and you're basically physically having to alter the chemistry of your brain without getting too scientific. So how long that takes, I don't know, but I'm just keeping on trying to do things to keep me occupied and hoping that eventually I just like it fades. But yeah, something of which is obviously travel. Oktoberfest. I went and did that at the weekend, and oh my God, it's mental. Now, as someone that hasn't drunk in over a year and a half, I partly sort of deep down was like, if I'm going to do it anywhere, it's going to be here because it's literally a beer festival. It's like one of Germany's most famous traditions. And I got wankered, mate. Like, I got absolutely steaming. It started off with a beer bong, right, as you can see, right? Yeah, I had no choice in the matter, right? I was staying at this campsite that was run by this Australian travel company. It's like 7 degrees there and pissing it down with rain. But personally, like, I know people may think, oh, you're a YouTuber, mate. Surely you're like 5-star hotels only. But I will always love like just getting stuck in as like normal, like as in stuff that I've done all growing up, like before the whole YouTube stuff took off. Like, I don't know. That's always going to be like what I would prefer to do, like do it properly rather than like this fucking like fancy poncy bollocks. You know what I mean? That said, it's freaking freezing. Made these friends, obviously a couple of which were Australian YouTubers. It made me realise, fuck, like they're just here vlogging. I should be doing that. Or I could be doing that. And part of me going to Oktoberfest just randomly and spontaneously to meet up with these guys was to see, like, is this a way in which I could film my YouTube videos from now on? I.e., pick an event or a country with something going on, just fucking go to it with some of my mates and film it. We get to the actual venue and we've had a few beers at this point and you just basically can't get in anywhere. Like Oktoberfest, there must have been about like 200,000 people there. It's got rides, it's got restaurants, it's like buzzing, but you can't, the actual halls that you see all over like TikTok and Twitter and everything of like the Oktoberfest, the big beer halls where everyone's sitting on long tables and there's live music. To get in there, mate, you have to just stand and queue or get there at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. when it opens. And we got there at like in the afternoon. So you're basically just stood there. And it makes you like stood there in the queue waiting or trying to sneak in. Like how often do you see something on TikTok or on social media where it looks so goals and ultimately because it's so popular and so successful, there is a lot of just like standing around. We're now sobering up a bit and we just stood in the rain with like bouncers that just treat you like shit and just want to, oh, you're English, are you? Yeah, even, well, poof, like on the head. Like that's what they all want to do, right? But they don't. Because we stand in the queue politely. And then we eventually get in after nearly giving up. And I can't lie, this is where it really got like class. You get the 2-litre beer, like I think they're called Steins, right? They're like 2-litre beer jugs. And you're seeing them off, all of us, like these guys that I've kind of, only just met. I knew one guy, Ben, from filming the Volcano documentary that I've done on this channel. He was the only person I knew. Other than that, these are all strangers. But because we're all on this level of getting smashed, and this is where I just forgot about like almost the fun of drinking. It almost like puts you on this level of like total like bonding. Like it just does. And it felt like fucking we were all on the up. We were all feeling class. We were all listening to the music. Like we'd finally made it in after waiting for so long. It almost like felt that much sweeter. And yeah, then next thing I know, they're passing around this white powder. What? Mate, that looks like packet, right? That looks like actual bag. How's everyone just doing this, right? Just doing this all around the arena and it's just allowed. But it turns out it's not bag, right? It is not cocaine. It is, in fact, mint, okay? It's mint. And they're actually selling it, like official people are selling it at the venue. Okay, and yeah, you sniff it, and it gives you this kind of buzz, but it's almost it just wakes you up, like, you know, when you have a very strong mint or chewing gum, and we were doing it in very obscure ways off of many different body parts, okay, and yeah, I did feel a bit, not sleazy, but like, what am I doing? So we're steaming. And we're now getting really drunk. We're singing along. I'm getting on people's shoulders. I'm in the outfit as well. Like that fit, mate, there's something about being in an outfit. It makes you feel part of something, And I really felt part of this and like I was getting involved. And then fast forward later, one of the Aussie YouTubers has a DJ set and I'm up there with him. I'm freaking wankered at this point and it's all just flowing out of me. I'm like being the hype man. But it felt good. And I don't know, I was just fully letting loose. And this whole day just made me realise how fun drinking actually can be. And I never thought I'd actually say that. I wake up the next day and the hangover then just lasts for probably the next 4 days. Bearing in mind, I go to Barcelona the next day, or the day after that. Yeah, I go to Barcelona. And like, this is the thing about drinking. Like, it's almost like I'm on a come down. Like, I'm now experiencing just being in this lower state, like less confident, like less just like low. And it's almost like chemically in there. Like the hormones of the mind, like they've been altered by the alcohol. And that's just now how I feel. So like, okay, yeah, firm it. It's just a hangover, mate. Everyone goes through it. Brilliant. But ultimately, like, this is why I stopped drinking. Like when I was traveling a year and a half before, I was in these amazing places and just feeling this like lower like shell of myself. And I was experiencing that again now in Barcelona, visiting friends that had, like, you know, one of them had moved out there, old school friends, and we were having great conversation. But like, I'm feeling myself just lower and more self-conscious. And it's like, for the sake of that amazing day at Oktoberfest, which I'm like, that was worth it. But now you're in this lower state. And part of me is like, well, like if you never expose yourself to non-ideal feelings, i.e. like a hangover or when you've eaten bad food or, you know, done something that makes you feel not ideal, if you never expose yourself to that, surely you are just conditioning yourself to be a wet wipe. Do you know what I mean? Like, because when those feelings then do come along, if they ever do, and inevitably there's going to be times, even if you get a lack of sleep, right, those feelings will come along probably at some point. And if you're never used to dealing with those non-ideal feelings, then when they do come, I feel that they just hit you so much harder. So I'm sitting here thinking, should I expose myself more to things that make me not feel as ideal? Like, to get used to it? Because as someone that doesn't like, you know, I quit caffeine, quit alcohol, don't watch pornography, don't eat bad food, only good stuff. Like, it's on paper, you're like, mate, he's smashing it, he's on it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're creating this almost like perfectionist way of living, because there is this culture now of like being disciplined and like living like the perfect like disciplined lifestyle. But there's part of me that's like, yeah, that conditions you to like not be able to be very adaptable. I think that's the thing. You're not very adaptable for the different like highs and lows of life. Another thing is the concept of like getting older, right? So I'm 28 years old now. I think it's important in this day and age, and I think we're all doing it a lot more, but it's the thing of not feeling like you have to do the stereotypical things that maybe our parents all just did. So by this age, I need to have done this. I should be thinking this way and doing that way. Part of me is like, it's about maintaining your like living, like expressing your inner child. I think it is a case of like, right, what do I want to do? What do I actually want to do? What would actually set my soul on fire way more than anything else? And it's all right if you don't know, but like, I think that's what you should lean into. And, you know, because I sometimes see people going, oh, like, mate, he's 28 years old now, grow up. Like, when I'm like silly and goofy. And I think like being like silly and goofy, right, is like always just going to be part of me. Yours may be something else. But I think the almost like key thing when you're growing up and becoming an adult, and especially like an older adult, like, well, late 20s, is like not feeling like you now need to, all right, I need to become this more boring version of myself that limits myself because I shouldn't be seen to be doing this thing now that I'm getting older because it's viewed like only younger people should do. Like, I think ultimately, like, if you're having fun, yeah, that is what you want to lean into. And I think within my videos, that is what I'm going to try and lean into more than anything. Hence why, like, coming down and just sitting here and just having a chat like this, I fucking love having a conversation. And I feel like we actually know each other. So I thought, rather than, well, it's a bit of a side topic, this is more like my job, but rather than just trying to conform to what everyone else is doing on YouTube right now, which is these like crazy, amazing, to say the least, like challenge videos that are very like Mr. Beast style. What about just having a little convo? Like come in here and just having a little chat. Because that is something that I think is actually quite fun. But yeah, so far, this is fun. How are we thinking of this so far? Just a little sit down, having random chats. Let me know in the comments, because for me, it feels quite refreshing to just be here. And it's not like some sort of strict YouTube video concept. It is just, I'm sat in my little jungle palace. As you can see, it's in the theme of a haunted and abandoned jungle like house. And I've got loads of decorations on the mantelpiece of like, that relate to me. As you can see, we've got the legitimate logo here and a little washer machine. Yeah, we all love that one. So yeah, and now what else? Oh yeah, I just want to lead into actually traveling a little bit more. So obviously, at the end of last year, it was looking like I was actually going to be returning to boxing. Right, I'd had Misfits on the phone, and it did actually seem like that was going to be a thing. Trying to fight Bazinga, that didn't happen, but I was sort of like waiting around, thinking, well, what am I doing? I'm not working, and I can't lie, I wasn't actually like loving. Like I like training boxing, I like doing the athletic stuff, but in terms of like actually loving punching people and hurting people, like it just, or getting hurt myself, like. That's not actually my idea of fun. I sort of got to the point where I was like, fucking hell, man, like I'm in a position where I can actually do my job anywhere. I want to travel, but I also want to try and do it by myself, because I've always been a person that wants to lean on, like if I'm doing something quite scary or intimidating, like I'll take a friend, like often Elliot, right? I'll take Elliot with me. So I was like, let me go solo traveling. Let me go to like somewhere by myself. I'd done it before. The year before, me and Elliot went, and it ended up costing so much money. Like, I'll be real, must have spent about 30k, like 30 grand. And we were gone for like nearly like 6 months, just Thailand and Bali. And like, not staying in hostels, staying in like Airbnbs and like, the more expensive kind of places. And we did make a couple YouTube videos, like surviving on the desert island and surviving up an erupting volcano, like little documentary type videos that were fun. And we had like brand deals that did, obviously we got paid, but still I did make a massive loss. Now, at the beginning of 2024, when I now had this idea to go solo traveling, I was like, let me do this in the most cost effective way. So I reached out to a company called True Travels, and they actually sent me on one of their like solo travel places. They were like, pick somewhere, like, and I went Philippines, and they sent me, and it was decent, but it was like, I can't lie, like there's an element of, it was planned, and because the Philippines is quite all over the place, that was quite ideal, because I wouldn't have a single clue of where to go. But it was like, I don't know how you say, like, it was planned fun. And I think I like unplanned fun, like spontaneous adventure. So did their little trip for 3 weeks, got the hang of it. It was technically solo traveling, so I didn't know anyone there. And I was trying to make YouTube video stuff the whole time, but oh my God, I was stressing myself out so much. That was when I realized, if I do this, I'm going to need a cameraman or someone to help me. And ultimately, I didn't end up really using any of the YouTube video stuff that I filmed from that. The only thing I did use was eating the worms. That my most recent YouTube video before this, eating the worms with the indigenous tribe. And that wasn't part of the trip with the travel company. That was just, we found people, this indigenous tribe that just took me. So that was the only thing I filmed, and that video got demonetized. So I didn't really make much content there, but I was doing Snapchat. Now, if you follow me on Snapchat, you would have seen that I was posting a lot on there, and that's because you get paid to do Snapchat now, right? So I was thinking, so this travel company had sent me out there. They paid for my accommodation, as in like covered my accommodation and stuff, so I didn't have to pay for that. And I was doing Snapchat, right? The YouTube video stuff, okay, that wasn't really working. I got one video, and I had a brand deal, so it was a little bit of money, but like the main thing was this Snapchat that you could just do every day, and it earns an amount of money. And I can't lie, it's a similar amount to YouTube. Like, how does that work? I don't know, but how it works is where there's an advert every 7 seconds on Snapchat when you're going through someone's story, the longer you can keep the audience watching your story, obviously the more adverts come up every 7 seconds, that's what you're getting paid for. So you need to keep people engaged. So that's why like telling a story on there does really well. And the best one for me was like when I got food poisoning and I ended up in hospital in Thailand, like that was a whole story, like, and documented it. And that would retain, that was probably my most successful one. Another one that I did was about my laser tattoo removal. That engaged people loads. But yeah, other than that, if you haven't got like a big story, like a big like thing like that, just, I would take photos and videos of my day-to-day whilst traveling and caption it as it went along. And yeah, that ended up being what I was doing as my job, which is mental. And like, I'm beyond like blessed and grateful because it's like, it almost doesn't make sense how that can actually be a way to earn money. And now I'm just like, well, let me just keep going. It was ballsy. I was sitting there thinking like, this is daring. Like I'm now by myself completely, like not with a travel company. I'm by myself on the other side of the planet. And I've got this job that I can do on Snapchat, and fucking hell, this is almost like ideal. And like, I made friends out there. We then went to Sri Lanka and hired tuk-tuks that we drove around the whole of Sri Lanka. And then I went to Thailand with like 2 of them. And you're almost just like, this is the dream. This is actually sick. But I did get to a point of like feeling I would like some stability now. Like almost to be in one place. Like you don't want to just travel like constantly. But the biggest lesson I learned from all that traveling is like what's going on out there is kind of irrelevant compared to what's going on in here, in your mind. Because if you're not at peace with yourself and not okay and accepting and, you know, okay with who you are, then your perception of the outside world is not going to seem that good either. And that's where like, obviously, while I was traveling, I was having so much coffee. And it was just like almost making me like stressed. And yeah, I almost like didn't appreciate where I was. So anyways, long story short, I quit the coffee, got into meditating, and it really just, I don't know, I just really wanted to practice just being at one and okay with myself, by myself, without the stimulation of outside making me feel the positive things. Like I need to be okay with just being by myself. I found a peace in doing that, the meditating, that just allowed me to like really, really appreciate where I was. And I will say like the thing of being, I know if you're from the UK, you probably are thinking the UK is shit. Oh my God, it's like got nothing to offer. But being out there in like Thailand and getting awful food poisoning, and I've had it every time I've been traveling, like you get it. Well, I've got it. It makes you realise like, oh my God, we're actually like, we have it so sound here, the fact that we can just go and eat somewhere and like know that, or trust that we're not going to get sick, like really, really like the worst sickness you've ever had, like in every way. Like that is what I had. Like, and when I was in the hospital, they were like in Thailand with food poisoning, they just like took the piss out of me, like mocked it, like they didn't actually, it was almost like they didn't really give a shit. They were just trying to charge me and be like, you're right, if you're going to stay here, it's this like 80 quid, like converted from Thai money, like £80 a night to stay in like this no aircon place with like, and just getting jabbed with random things that they wouldn't even tell me what it was doing, putting me on a drip that didn't even like, I don't know, it was going at 0.2 miles an hour. Like it didn't feel like it was actually doing anything. And I don't know, it just made me then, you know, you then appreciate the UK a little bit more. I know like it's difficult to get into like hospitals and stuff at the moment, but like, there is at least an element of safety that you can somewhat rely on. Even things as well like roads, being able to drive on the road and it not be like, am I going to get run over, or like the chaos. Like there is an element, I don't know, just an appreciation that I then had for the UK that maybe I was overlooking before. And one thing I will say is like the communities like out in say like the Philippines and stuff, like they were so much happier than we are in like the UK or like built up places. And I'm wondering, like, they obviously have nothing in comparison. But they do have community, and they're not, like, here it's all about like consumerism, like buying stuff, like having problems and buying the solutions, right? Whereas out there, like they don't, I don't know, because it's such a simpler way, like they don't have loads. They're not all striving to have the biggest, the best, more. It's just like they're just content with like the actual basics of what we actually need, which is just shelter, food, water, and to be out in nature. That's all they really have. And they're just there like supporting each other. Like, I don't know, they just seem so much happier. And maybe that's why I've sort of stepped away from the whole YouTube scene a little bit and just tried to like, okay, let me just live, try to almost go back to like almost caveman time sort of stuff, like doing stuff that just is wholesome. And yeah, but at the same time, I'm at a point now where like I'm ready to get going and almost express creatively and express myself in a way that isn't focused on what's going to get the most views or make me the most money, but just like actually be fun. And I feel like actually this is something, for example, sitting here having these conversations with you, my friend, right? I just think that that's going to be class. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at us right now. We are sat here and we're having fun. Well, this has been jokes and I've been enjoying myself. Moving forward, what's coming up? I'm going to Dubai next week. Now, this is going to be the first time that I film. I'm taking my cameraman and we're going to try and film just a travel type vlog of just getting up to stuff. See what happens. Because like I said, setting up challenges and doing like fabricating things to do for content, it's almost then not as real. Do you get me? Like, and I feel like my most successful stuff, or like what brings out the best in me, is when it's just authentic and real. And the second you start setting up challenges just for a YouTube thing, it's almost very surface level and it's a performance. Whereas like I do cool shit, like I just do. And I have cool opportunities. So it's like, why not just vlog that reality? Like capture that reality of what's actually going on. We're starting off with Dubai. Apparently I've been invited to accept an award as the most untamed YouTuber. And I alongside that, we have 5 or 6 days of being in Dubai with an itinerary of things to do. That, we're just going to knock off. And yeah, I just thought there's got an element of go and do that and just film and see what happens, because the best stuff almost, I feel like you can't plan. And there's been, my most successful stuff has probably come when I've just seen what happens, like done something and just not overly planned it. Like, the first ever Internet Melts, that was a filler video. That was me just going, I need to make a video. Let me just, I don't know, I've got these things that I saw on the internet this week. Let me just get them up and talk about them and just have a laugh. And just, I didn't overly plan it at all. I just then got them up and then just wash them, mash in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just fucking took the piss with it. And then it worked. And like my first exploring haunted video, that was Elliot. I had run out of ideas and Elliot just went, mate, I've got this abandoned school that I went to. Should we just go and have a look and just bring the cameras? And I was like, don't know about that, but like, fuck it. Let's just do it and see what happens. Mate, it just turned into like the biggest, like one of my biggest series. And I think there is an element of that, like, as someone, I don't know if you can relate to this, but like where you like to know what's coming, or there's almost an element of control that can be limiting. If you try to like predetermine everything that's going to happen, you're setting yourself up for a bit of almost failure, because it's kind of impossible for everything to go as exactly as you plan. So yeah, that's what I'm leaning into. Even with this, like I've had a rough idea of what I want to talk about, but partly I'm just sort of spitballing. And I think there is something in that, like having an intention. I want to do that. I want to get this out of it, a good video or a good travel video. So let me go to a place or put myself in that situation that can generate that and just let the magic happen to an extent as it's going to. Oh yeah, so on Wafflin, right, which is my podcast that I do with my friend Luke and Theo. A lot of you are Wafflin Mafia members. I know, I don't need to explain a thing. But little inside info, right? So obviously we've just started the podcast and we want to get, obviously to make money on a podcast, you have to have adverts, right? And we've been told that like the content, like we're actually, like brands are saying, mate, we can't really, like you're talking about pissing in your own mouth. Now, those of you that don't know, like there was a little segment where I spoke about a friend that I made over summer. I don't piss in my own mouth, right? I don't do that. But there was a little like clip that went viral, it like banged on TikTok. But it almost like to the untrained eye, if you're just seeing that, you're thinking that we're promoting like pissing in your own mouth. Now on top of that, like freely talking about like this mushroom trip that I had whilst in Thailand, even though to me and anyone that's done mushrooms, you will know that mushrooms are in a completely different category to like hard drugs like cocaine, heroin, bloody crack. Do you know what I mean? It's different, but like advertisers almost just like put it together. Like you're talking about doing drugs, mate, that's not brand friendly. And we've basically been told that like, yeah, like at the moment, there's not really any advertisers are not really keen. So it's like through us basically expressing freely and just like actually being authentic and real and just I talk on Wafflin and now like I am just like as I talk to like my mates, and I think like that is how it needs to be in order to actually be what it is, be successful. I'm not going to come on here and only talk about like, oh, I went to the shops and I bought a sandwich and like that's it, because that's just boring, right? So yeah, if we talk about these sort of slightly daring subjects or be real completely, it's mental how that equates to not being able to earn money. And isn't it interesting how that is just something throughout that, like, if we are all totally real, if we were all totally completely real and authentic, would any of us have jobs? Do you know what I mean? Like, think about that. Would any of us actually be able to earn money if we were totally the us that we are, that we actually are? Because I know there's an element of being professional. I do get that. But it's almost like there's this pantomime that we've got to pretend like we're not also like a real human being that just has the banter that we all have, as in, we don't all have the same banter, but as in like there's a side of us that is maybe our more authentic self, how we talk with our mates or how we would talk openly, and if we were just genuine, that we have to pretend doesn't exist if we have a job. And it's like, I don't know, I just find that a bit mental. Even like YouTube, like if you talk a bit too freely or like discuss topics or like themes of a certain nature, like boom, you'll get demonetized. Overall, I'm wanting to create again. I'm wanting to express again. And yeah, that is why I want to combine like doing creative projects, like maybe the vlogging stuff that's travel and like we're out and about active, but also expressing like this, just sitting down and having a little talk. That isn't just like internet melts or doing some big like crazy thing, mate. It's just conversation, just real conversation. I just think that like, yeah, I think this moving forward, like we could actually have fun here. So yeah, if you do enjoy this concept, I know that you do. I know you absolutely fucking love it, right? We're going to do this as frequently as possible. Ideally, like once a week, but we all know that's probably not going to happen. But I'll try and do it as frequently as I can. If you did enjoy, please leave a like rating, right? Let me know exactly what you're thinking of anything that I've said, or even just this concept in the comments. And yeah, there is more to come. We're all, yeah, blah, blah. It just came out there, the tism. Do you know what I mean? But until next time, I hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and peace. Bye.